The news day continues here on One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. Sandiganbayan has dismissed another civil suit that sought to recover the alleged ill-gotten wealth of dictator Ferdinand Marcos and his widow Imelda due to the supposed insufficiency of evidence. The suit, filed by the PCGG back in 1987, prayed for the accounting, reconveyance, reversion, or restitution of the alleged ill-gotten wealth of the Marcos spouses, as well as their supposed cronies and dummies Ricardo Silverio and Pablo Carlos Jr. The PCGG did not specify the total amount of assets it wanted reconveyed or forfeited in favor of the government, but its complaint involved 27 parcels of land, 3 condominium units, a condominium apartment, 2 gasoline stations, and a 7-Eleven convenience store, all located in California. However, the Sandiganbayan 4th Division said the PCGG failed to present any evidence or witnesses that could prove that Silverio's business ventures were given the supposed grants and privileges during the term of Marcos as president. This marks the 5th civil forfeiture case against the Marcoses that's recently been dismissed by the Sandiganbayan due to insufficiency of evidence. To date, 16 of these cases remain pending. 24 have already been dismissed. 2 were ruled in favor of the government, while 1 was indefinitely archived. Senator Kiko Pangilinan files a complaint before the DOJ against 2 YouTube channels and Google Philippines official over alleged defamatory remarks against him and his family. He also sought the assistance from the Cybercrime Division of the NBI to identify the persons operating the channels and to collect computer data related to this. He said that he hopes this incident will serve as a wake-up call to the public to be responsible about what they upload or post on social media, to be cautious on what they share, especially if these are baseless. Pangilinan also appealed to social media executives to beef up efforts against the proliferation of malicious videos and other materials posted on social media. The Metro Manila Council will reconsider the capacity and mobility of residents in the NCR amid the detection of Delta variant cases locally. MMDA Chairman Benher Abalos told the chiefs that LGUs in the Metro are prepared in case the more infectious Delta variant becomes present in their community. Abalos adds that health officials recommended NCR to review their existing protocols, including the eased restrictions on children aged 5 and up.
Mas very conservative po ang mga mayors po natin dito. I'm sure of that. When you talk of capacity, sigurado po yan. Capacity kagad yan. Mobility will be affected here. No? So that ayokong pangunahan sila, but we will have to hear kung paano talaga itong Delta variant kumalat ang gusto.
4 years after the siege, most Marawi residents have yet to come back to their hometown. Now they are uncertain whether President Duterte will even remember to mention his plans for them in the upcoming SONA. In an interview with the chiefs, Ako Bakwit chairperson Samira Guto said the rehabilitation of Marawi is one of the most expensive projects of the administration. Yet the results yielded are so minimal.
This is one of the most expensive projects of this administration. After 4 absent ang Marawi sa kanyang SONA, 4 SONAs, and yet 3 martial laws, sana naman po bigyan niya ng pansin.
Meanwhile, Guto also cried foul over the government's plan to build a stadium and a convention center in Marawi as part of its rehabilitation efforts, saying most Marawi residents are still homeless and now at risk of losing their land as well.
Na-shock na lang one day itong mga prosecutor who lands there and these 4 barangays that they're not going back pala. 300 to 500 people po, so households. They are 90% in houses of people na nakakahiya na po na 4 years nakikitira. That is the dignity po, Sir Robbie, na hindi ko talaga ma-describe into Filipino terms, in English, na kahit anong kultura naman siguro, 1 week, 1 year, nakakahiya na po nakikitira.
Over 500 people lined up to donate their blood in Alagang Kapatid's blood donation drive in Cavite. Laila Pangilinan with the story.
More than 500 residents of Carmona, Cavite flocked to the voluntary blood donation drive organized by the Alagang Kapatid Foundation in cooperation with DOH Region 4A at the Carmona Community Center. This is the first time this year that the voluntary blood donation was staged in Carmona because of the imposed community quarantines during the first quarter of the year. The turnout was a success as they went beyond their target of 300 donors. They had 514 successful blood donors in total. As the saying goes, the more, the merrier. Because of the additional bags of blood, their beneficiary hospitals, the Provincial Hospital of Cavite General Emilio Aguinaldo Memorial Hospital, and the Philippine General Hospital will be given 257 bags each of safe blood supply.
Hindi kami nagkaroon ng first quarter kasi ECQ kami, bawal yung mass gathering. So na-miss nila yung blood donation kasi maraming mga regular donors dito.
Despite the big crowd, health and safety measures were in place. Each bed was also sanitized every after donor. Barangay 4 Carmona Captain Jose Hernandez was one of those who lined up to voluntarily give blood. He said he has been doing this for 32 years as a way of paying it forward after getting better from an undisclosed illness in 1989.
Wala akong sakit, hindi ako nagme-maintain ng gamot. At hanggang ngayon, wala akong sakit. Saka nakakatulong ako sa mga kababayan ko.
The barangay captain's efforts seemed to be contagious as his neighbors followed his lead.
Regular donor siya. Kaya nga good example, imagine official siya, barangay official, tapos nagdo-donate. Kaya nakikita naman ng mga constituents, kaya sumusunod, gumagaya sa kanya.
Marlon, on the other hand, has been a regular donor for 15 years. This year, he encouraged his office mates to voluntarily give blood and still report for work after.
Kami lang po nag-enforcer sa sa nurse po namin, sabi sa amin kung sino gusto mag-donate, pumunta po kami sa clinic po namin.
But aside from these Hall of Famers, there are also first-timers like Francia, who bravely gave away her blood to serve those in need.
First time ko lang po. Hindi po ako natatakot kasi gusto ko pong makatulong sa mga nangangailangan ko.
And as a simple way of saying thank you, the Alagang Kapatid and DOH Region 4A has given them freebies and a complete meal before going home. July of every year was declared as a Blood Donors Month by former President Fidel V. Ramos per Proclamation number 1021 signed on June 9, 1997. The whole month of July, all persons are encouraged to voluntarily give blood, and blood donors' noble act of saving lives through their gift of blood are acknowledged. The next voluntary blood donation would be in the Bulwagang Balagtas West in Barangay Zone 4 in Atimonan, Quezon Province. For News 5, Laila Pangilinan, we are One News.
We'll be back with more stories after a quick break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. With lessons learned from the COVID-19 pandemic, researchers are studying the use of technology to detect and stop the transmission of disease in the future. James Patton tells us more in Quick Take Charge. Let's watch this.
We've seen a host of projects around the world, big and small, aimed at detecting, future health threats before they explode into global emergencies. The use of AI and data and advanced technologies, is accelerating. And, there are a number of vaccine approaches as well that are looking to speed up the effort. There's an interesting coalition called the Trinity Challenge that's looking to use data in smarter and more effective ways to pick up emerging health threats, before they become pandemics. And that organization is providing funds to a number of initiatives all over the world. One in Thailand, for instance, gives a mobile app to farmers so they can report diseases, and health officials quickly spot health threats that have pandemic potential. And others are using AI to, say, analyze billions of blood tests to look for patterns and try to identify emerging diseases too. So really what we're seeing out of this, pandemic and out of all the devastation is a wave of innovation as well.
And James, you mentioned funds for a number of initiatives. Where do those funds come from? Who is going to be fronting the bills? And also, how expensive is all of this going to actually cost?
Yeah, well, when you look at it one way, it's a lot of money. This organization called CEPI, that's based in Oslo, has a $3.5 billion strategy to prepare for future pandemics, to move faster on vaccine development, and to accelerate research. There are some independent panels in recent weeks that have called for ramped up investment. A group reporting to the G20 just recommended doubling spending to about $15 billion a year over the next 5 years to get ready for future health threats. Others are pushing for pandemic financing initiatives, health funds that will be essentially ready to go to pay for a future response. Now, the people proposing this spending point out that this pales in comparison to the potential economic costs we're talking about. I mean, trillions and trillions of dollars. For this pandemic, future pandemics could be even costlier. Larry Summers, the former U.S. Treasury Secretary, just said last week that, in his words, this is the public sector equivalent of buying Amazon shares in the 1990s. It offers immense returns, he said, and if governments fail to seize this opportunity, that they'll look back with deep regret.
Tennis superstar Naomi Osaka opens up about her life in a recently released Netflix docuseries. Osaka shared that she was terrified to release a documentary after her withdrawal from the French Open and Wimbledon to focus on her mental health. Still, the four-time Grand Slam winner hopes that people can relate to her and understand her decision-making process with the docuseries. The Netflix documentary called Naomi Osaka, Playing by Her Own Rules, follows the life of the tennis professional 2 years after her 2018 U.S. Open win against Serena Williams. And those are the top stories at this hour. Join us again later at 2:15 p.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.